Good day, everyone, and welcome back to Mrs. B History. Now, imagine setting sail into waters no one from your country has ever explored. No GPS, no satellite maps, just the stars above you, the waves below you, and the hope that your calculations are right. Today, we're diving into the incredible story of Captain James Cook, a poor farm boy who rose to become one of the greatest navigators in British history and whose journeys changed the world forever. Before he became a famous explorer, James Cook had one of the most ordinary beginnings you can imagine. He was born in Yorkshire, in the north of England, the son of a poor farm labourer. Nothing about his early life suggested he would one day sail across the globe. At just 17 years old, Cook left home to work at sea. He started out doing the tough, dangerous jobs that came with life aboard a ship, hauling ropes, climbing masts, learning to read the winds. But Cook wasn't just strong, he was brilliant, curious, and unbelievably determined. He studied every book he could find. He taught himself Greek, geometry, and astronomy, all subjects that were essential for navigating oceans long before modern technology. When Cook joined the Royal Navy in 1755, he rose rapidly through the ranks. Despite his poor background, he impressed everyone with his skill at sea and his ability to chart coastlines with incredible accuracy. By 1768, he had earned a reputation as the most talented navigator in the entire Royal Navy. So this brings us to the 26th of August, 1768. On this day, the British government selected Captain James Cook to lead a major scientific and exploratory mission to the South Pacific Ocean. His ship was the now famous HMS Endeavour. Now, Cook's voyage had two purposes. First, he was to make astronomical observations that would help scientists calculate the size of the solar system. But the second mission was more secret and more political. Cook was instructed to search for a mysterious continent known as Terra Australis, which is Latin for southern land. European sailors had long believed that a giant, unknown continent existed somewhere in the far south. If Cook found it, he was to claim it for Britain. From 1769 to 1770, Cook and his crew sailed around the two main islands of New Zealand. For months he and his crew mapped the coastline with incredible precision, work that would influence maps for generations. Then the Endeavour turned west towards a land few Europeans had ever seen. In April 1770, Cook anchored at the southeastern tip of Australia, in a wide and peaceful bay. One of his crew members, Joseph Banks, was a young botanist, that is, someone who studies plants. Banks went ashore and was amazed at what he found. Plants of every shape, size, and colour, species no European had ever recorded. He collected so many that Cook named the landing site Botany Bay. After this, the Endeavour continued north along the eastern coast of Australia. Cook carefully charted every bay, every headland, every island. What he created wasn't just a rough sketch. These were detailed maps that would guide future sailors for decades. But exploring unknown lands came with huge risks. On the 11th of June 1770, disaster struck. The Endeavour hit the Great Barrier Reef, a massive underwater structure made of coral. The sharp coral tore a giant hole in the hull. The water flooded in, and the ship began to sink. The crew worked frantically, using pumps, buckets, anything they could find. Eventually they managed to slow the flooding by plugging the hole with an old sail. Barely afloat, the damaged Endeavour limped to the Australian coast. For weeks the crew repaired the ship in dangerous, unfamiliar territory. Every day was a battle against tides, weather, and the possibility of another attack from the sea. Finally, after months of repairs and more exploring, Cook felt confident enough to continue. On the 13th of September 1770, he officially claimed the eastern coast of Australia for King George III. At the time, he had no idea how significant this moment would become. This claim would eventually lead to the founding of British colonies on Australia, events that would change the land and its indigenous peoples forever. After 3 years at sea, Cook returned to Britain as a national hero. But Cook's adventures weren't over. In 1776 he set out on his third Pacific voyage. His goal was to search for another possible route across the northern Pacific. In January 1779, Cook and his crew landed on the islands of Hawaii, the first Europeans ever to set foot there. The Hawaiian people welcomed Cook warmly. In fact, they treated him like a god, hosting festivals and offering gifts. But as time passed, relations began to weaken. The crew overstayed their welcome, supplies ran low, misunderstandings grew, and tensions rose. Then came the breaking point, a dispute over a stolen boat. During the argument that followed, Cook was surrounded. In the chaos, he was struck and killed by islanders. It was a shocking and a tragic end to one of the greatest navigators in history. On the slide, you can see the journey that James Cook took for his first voyage. It was an amazing achievement, and in fact, James Cook's life was a mixture of discovery, of danger, and of extraordinary ambition. His maps reshaped the world. His voyages opened up new connections between continents. But his story also reminds us of the powerful and often destructive impact of European exploration on Indigenous peoples. So thank you for watching Mrs. B History. If you want to explore more stories from the Age of Empire, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.